Thanks again for joining me on another episode of Sealed for Good. Today I'm going to talk about maintenance schedules, and this is one that many customers, at both ends of the spectrum, the builder client or the asset owner and the applicator, forget to do, is including a maintenance schedule into the actual scope of works. And it doesn't revolve around every application. So things like bathrooms and wet areas, normally once they are covered, one of the advantages of those is you're protecting those products and systems during the application of construction. Then once they're covered with screeds or tile beds, they're relatively safe from being damaged. However, applications like roofing, where you've got an exposed membrane, water tanks is another one, even planter boxes to a certain extent. In critical areas, you should include a maintenance schedule. And I'm going to use the roof one as an example because I've been involved in many of these projects over the years. And what happens is, great work's done with the waterproofing, right systems are specified, and I'm talking about any system now. It doesn't need to be just a Gripset system. You can have a system that's very, very, very highly durable. It could be sheet or liquid or a spray-on system with a range of different technologies. But the fact is, when it's exposed to the elements or exposed to the area where you've got all sorts of traffic on top of it, damage could happen to the membrane. And the problem is, a lot of people don't detect the damage, and the asset owner becomes alarmed at this because then a leak springs and then there are problems on site and things have to be fixed. So if you actually include a maintenance schedule in your scope of works for the warranty, so for example Gripset as a manufacturer, we would give various warranties for roof projects. It could be 10, 15 years, sometimes they've been 20-year systems. What happens is, we would then recommend to our client, the contractor, the applicator, that depending on what the demands are of that roof, they should go and inspect it every 3 or 5 years or 7 years, depending on what's there. And you build that into your price. So then you may have a price that you quote for the works you're doing today, and then you factor in that for the life of the warranty, there is a maintenance inspection that's carried out, and your time needs to be paid for that. I get that. Now that could be an hour, depending on the size of the project. It could be 3 hours, it could be a half a day or a day. You need to work with your client on that. Now, these sorts of projects on large roofs, particularly with these plant and equipment and other traffic, the client needs to understand that that is the exposed envelope of the building. It's there. Underneath that roof membrane is the substrate where if water gets through, there are a lot of issues. So the cost for the life of the building to have someone come out and inspect and maintain the warranty is smart money being spent, and it's wise. And you need to be paid for it, and you need to factor that in, and you put that in your agreement. And so you calendarize it or diarise it that you would actually preempt the inspection. You go out there, you visit that, and you check all the critical points. Things like drains, things like expansion joints, where there's a lot of traffic, potential chemical spillages, where there's things like ladders and access points where there's a lot of wear and tear. And like I said, it doesn't really matter what membrane system you've used. I know that some of you out there are going to go, well, my membrane's that tough, nothing will break it. Let me tell you, I've seen the best of them out there globally, and I see this done very, very well in the Asian countries like in Hong Kong and Korea and China on some large commercial projects. And even then, you still need to inspect these roofing systems. So factor it in. And also, by initiating that at the quoting stage of your works, it actually gives your client an understanding that you might be different than the cowboy that's actually undercut your quote. Because they need to understand that it's all well and good that the membrane's been laid down and you pay for it then and there, but what's going to happen in 5 years' time. And getting on top of things, like we all know, prevention is better than cure. Sort that through, explain that to your client, and you'll find that your reputation will be lifted, and you earn more money on that because you've then tied your client into future work on that one. And there might be other projects if they're asset owners where they'll utilise the same sort of system, knowing that they've got that peace of mind that you're involved. The other thing is, if you're using our system, Gripset, we document it as well, and we'll know about it. And so we'll actually preempt it with you, and we work with you on those inspections because we're going to want that report based on what you see out there when you do that inspection. Now, you might go out and inspect it and everything's fine, but if there's any works or repairs to be done, we can give you a remedial or repair specification so the integrity of the membrane can remain for that period of that warranty, the original warranty you issued. In addition to that, when you are doing jobs for your clients with roofing jobs, give them some tips and hints on how they can help maintain, and this can even be in domestic dwellings, but exposed roof applications. Number one are the drains. At least 2 or 3 times a year, the drains should be checked, because it doesn't matter whether you've got trees or other debris around the roof, you're always going to have items that are going to fall on the roof, and if the falls are to where they're meant to be, there's going to be an accumulation of things like leaves and twigs or whatever it could be, even dead birds we've seen around drains, and they can block the water up. They block the drain where the water is flowing through, and then what ends up happening is you get an overflow issue, and then you've got other issues that are created. So ensure that they're the little things you advise your client. Not wait until there's sort of water coming in from under the eaves or you've got a blocked drain. A couple times a year they can go and inspect that before winter, before summer, and after winter particularly, and just ensure they're all cleaned and free. Just like you would maintain a gutter around a normal home. Roof jobs where there's a flat roof, and this also comes into effect with things like pedestal paver projects, where clients might be doing pedestal pavers on their exposed decks and podiums. They need to understand where those drainage points are, because they're now not visible, and identify which of those pavers they need to lift at that stage of the year to just ensure there's a clear runway for the water and no blockages at the drains. This is all simple stuff, but we forget it, and if you actually implement it into your works and the way you discuss with your client, you're going to find that your reputation lifts. That's going to lift the rest of the industry. Less problems out there, and we're all moving ahead. Until next time, I'll see you in another episode of Seal for Good.